Hey, John.
What's going on? How you doing? Appreciate having me again.
Hey, let me start. Let's start with the 2-point conversion, because at that point in the game, there's 12 minutes left, about 12 and a half minutes left. It's 24-16. They just scored on you, and Atlanta decides to go for two. On the broadcast, they were giving Cleekay Hudson all the props and maybe deserved some of it, but you pulled down that ball carrier and basically just kept him out of the end zone. What did you see on that play? Tell us about that play.
Yeah, no, after the pass interference call, I had a, good feeling they were going to try to run the ball. So, I mean, in that situation, you don't really have time to think. So I'm just coming off the ball, trying to be aggressive, physical, and disruptive, and man, scratch and claw to do anything I can to help the team win. And, that was such a huge play in the game, because that put us in a position to where if they did score again, they would have to go for two just to tie.
Right.
So that was a huge point in the game. So I was glad I was able to be a part of that play and, help my team come away with the win yesterday.
It almost becomes predictable, right? When in that situation, when they get a penalty and then the ball moves up to the 1 yard line, you're right. You almost know they're going to run there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you expecting the tush push?
No, just because they had opportunities to run it before and they hadn't run it, and I hadn't seen it on film.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't expecting it. I knew they're a running football team. They have great running backs. They believe in their offensive line. So we knew that they were going to try to ground and pound us and be physical and get in the end zone through the ground. So, that's the way we wanted as a defensive line. We wanted it on our shoulders, and we want the responsibility and all the burdens that come along with it.
How would you grade the defense's performance overall? You hold them to 16 points, forced 3 turnovers, but they did rack up 400 yards.
Yeah. I think the sign of a great defense is even when bad things happen, being able to rise to the occasion. And even though we didn't hold them in yardage-wise as much as we would want, when they did get down inside the red zone, besides I think the first drive, we made it very challenging for them. And really what it came down to was getting turnovers in the second half. So I think it was a good performance. I won't say great. Obviously, when you give up 400 yards, that's not a great performance. But we did what we had to do to get the win. So overall, I'll give it like a B. It was a good performance.
That's the way I look at it, John. It doesn't matter who you're playing. Just look at San Francisco and Philly yesterday, playing bad teams, or certainly teams weren't expected to win with backup quarterbacks, and you go on the road, you get a win. Anytime you go on the road and win, I think it's big.
Yeah, it's funny. When I first came out of college, I still had the Alabama mindset, and so after wins in the NFL early in my career, even if we won, I want to be happy unless we dominated.
Mm-hmm.
But, obviously, NFL is not like college. So I've learned to really cherish and appreciate every single win in the NFL, because it's tough. Mm-hmm. It really is. Every single game is going to be a challenge. So it was a good win yesterday, and I definitely learned to appreciate the wins.
So your secondary came up big, right? Some big interceptions. Jamin, obviously, with the big one there, is not a secondary linebacker guy. But can you talk a little bit about the approach you guys had that allowed them to have that kind of day?
It was funny. Before the game started, I went to them. I'm like, hey, in the run game, put it all on us. The D-line will take care of the run. You guys take care of the pass, we're going to be good. And, what I always tell people is the most dangerous part of a game for a defense, for the most part, obviously, relatively speaking, is the first 15. The first 15 plays that a team scripts. They're so tough because they have a game plan. They have an idea of how we're going to line up to certain situations and respond, and they have a precise plan of how to attack us. Once you survive those first 15 and you start to get into the flow of the game, that's when you really, you start getting after it. So as a defense, we got to be better in the first 15. But after we got settled in, after that, I think the DBs played phenomenal. They didn't really give up a lot of plays over the top. They challenged all throws. 3 interceptions. That's a game right there. You take those away. Who knows what happens?
Mm-hmm.
Plus, Jonathan, I really thought St. Juice had that other interception that they gave the 50-50 ball to London. I thought he had it 75-25 maybe.
It's funny. I was talking to Juice, and I'm like, man, I feel like that's like the 4th or 5th pick I've seen you get.
Mm-hmm.
But the one you got in the end zone was the first one of his career. He had a pick six taken away against Minnesota last year. He had a Dallas one taken away last year. That the one he had earlier in the game looked like an interception. So,
right.
Man, I know he was just glad to finally get an official one under his belt.
Wow, I didn't realize that. That was his first career
First career
First
pick.
career. Crazy. I know, right?
How did Forbes handle not playing? I mean, John Keim said the guy's been great that way, you know?
Yeah. One thing I'll say about Forbes is he's an adult and he's a pro. And, you know, what me and some of the other guys are telling him, like, man, it's the NFL, man. There's going to be times where you get humbled, and I told him my stories of getting humbled, and Kendall Fuller told him his stories of getting humbled, and this is all part of the NFL, but as long as you handle it the right way, you'll be fine. Like, you're a first-round draft pick. You're going to be fine. You're going to have your opportunities, and they're going to come. You just got to be able to take the good with the bad, and when you get back on top, that's why you see guys work so hard, because they know what it's like to be down low, and that's a terrible feeling for anybody who's been there. It's a terrible feeling. So he's going to be fine. He's going to grow for this. I know it's tough for him, but man, he's been awesome. He really has been. I give him much respect, because I don't know if I could have done what he's doing.
Talking to Jonathan Allen, Pro Bowl defensive tackle, about the Commanders' 24-16 win over the Falcons. We got to see 2 sacks from Casey Tuhill. Guy only had 2 sacks, I think, in his career beforehand, and he is a backup. We understand the first-round draft picks, but tell us about the skill set from Casey Tuhill, because most of us don't get to see him very much.
I tell some of the younger guys this, like, this defensive line is probably the hardest defensive line to play on in the NFL. I mean, you got 4 first-round draft picks in the 4 positions. That alone is going to limit the amount of reps you get. So, I mean, I'm really, really happy for Casey, man. I know he's going to want to go out there and really showcase what he can do. I think this is the contract year for him. I'm not sure off the top of my head. But I couldn't think of a better guy to go out there and have 2 sacks. I'm really happy for him. He deserved it. And to be honest, what you guys see, I see him do this all the time. He just hasn't had the opportunity to really show it in the game. So this is huge for him.
So, John, last week we spent a lot of time after the loss to the Bears talking about kind of the off-the-field stuff, coaching stuff, demeanor, and then it came out that there was a sign, the do your job sign, and we kind of kicked it around whether it was a big deal or not. For you and as a team, does that galvanize the team? What did it mean to you, the do your job thing? Is it something you can rally around?
I mean, I'm not going to say it was one inspirational piece that helped us to victory, but I mean, it was a reminder of, hey, we got to do our job. I know for me personally, the biggest point of emphasis for me was having fun. And when I say that, I don't mean just going out there and just BSing around. But like, we're playing the game of football, and I think there's times where defense can get uptight and get stressed and get worried about being perfect. And everybody knows that no one's going to be perfect. So for me, what I always try to tell the guys, or what I was trying to tell the guys all week, is let's just go out there and have fun. Let's go out there, let's play fast, let's play for each other, let's sacrifice, and let's just see how good we can be. And we went out there and we played free, we played naked, we played clear of mind, and I think it showed. And I think that shows what we can do when we do play fast and play free and do all the things that we talked about as a unit. Again, a lot of things to clean up, a lot of plays we wish you could have back, but we did enough to get the win in the NFL. That's really all that matters.
All right, just a follow-up question on this. Did Ron just put the sign up, or was there a mantra behind it?
He put the sign up, and then in the meeting, we talked about it, and he reminded us day in and day out to do your job. Do your job not only for yourself, but for the guy to the left and to the right of you. And, I mean, I completely agree. I mean, when you listen to some of the greatest coaches, Coach Bill Belichick, Coach Saban, they all say that same mindset and mantra of do your job. And it sounds so simple, but you'd be surprised how you can get caught up in the emotions of trying to make a play and trying to do more than what's required of you to help the team. And it comes from a good spot. But at the end of the day, man, it's 11 guys working as one, not one guy trying to do the job of all 11 guys.
When does it turn for you that you get to enjoy the win, you bask in that win, to then start thinking about the New York Giants, who you play them every year. You played them twice last year, 2 close games, lost one, had a tie in the other. When does it switch for you?
To be honest, it's already switched. Losses take a little bit longer because you break it down more. But after a win, it's like, hey, that was a great win. That was a great feeling. But, like, we can't have the ups and downs. We can't go into Atlanta and beat Atlanta and then give up 40 to Chicago at home. We just can't do that, especially as a defense. So for me, it's like, all right, we put one block down. Now let's take the next step and put another block down, and let's try to build this thing up. You know what I mean? I think the definition of excellency is being consistent. Anybody in the NFL can have one great game. Anybody in the NFL can have two great games. I don't care who you are. The worst player in the NFL has the ability and the talent level to go out there and play great for one game. But the great ones do it consistently, and that's what I'm chasing. That's what I want to do, and that's what I want this defense to do. Not have one good game and then a bad game and then a good game, but weeks and months and multiple months of solid, fundamentally sound, aggressive, physical defense. So we're trying to stack another block this week.
Hey, I'm curious. Did you guys game plan at all for Taylor Heinicke and the possibility that he might come in the game?
I'm not going to lie to you. This focus for the entire D-line is we're going to stop this run. And that's what our whole mindset went to. Who the quarterback was, from the defensive line perspective, we don't care. But what they won't do is run the ball on us. Because if they run the ball on us, it really doesn't matter who's that quarterback because they're just going to keep running the ball. So, I mean, that's probably a better question for somebody on the back end. But I know for me personally, I could not care less about who was quarterback. It was about stopping 25. I can't remember his name at the moment. I'm sorry. He's
Algier.
Tyler Algier.
Running back.
Yeah.
And Bijan Robinson. Those two guys, we have to stop them, and we do that by dominating the line of scrimmage. So
is that always your mindset going into a game, or just in particular against this group?
I think there's certain games where it's particular where you got to stop. You got to stop them on the run. Now, 49ers not so much anymore, but like before, like when you played the 49ers, you got to stop their run. You got to stop the run and make the quarterback beat you. When you play the Philadelphia Eagles, obviously they have great weapons on the outside, but none of that matters unless you stop the run. Same with the Atlanta Falcons. So there's probably about 5 or 6 teams that when you play them, your emphasis is mostly being focused on stopping the run because you know if you don't stop the run, it doesn't matter what they do in the pass game.
But what about when you face an athletic quarterback who can run? So Heinicke was a guy who could, make some plays with his legs. You're going to face probably Daniel Jones. Tyrod Taylor started last night, but I'm guessing Daniel Jones will be back. I know you want to focus on stopping Saquon Barkley in the run, but, different quarterbacks give different looks with their legs.
Yeah, I feel like in today's NFL, it almost feels like every single week is up. We got another running quarterback. I mean, you're more surprised if you get a quarterback that doesn't run. I mean, when you look at the starting quarterbacks around the league, how many of them will we consider not mobile? Like off the top of my head, I don't know.
Maybe a third. Maybe a third. There's Jared Goff, Kirk Cousins.
Jared Goff. But, God, their offensive coordinator, he calls some phenomenal plays. So that's a whole nother beast. I'm thinking Mac Jones.
Right.
I don't know. Like, it's very common now that most quarterbacks in the NFL are dual threat or at least have the ability to run. So going into each week is like, hey, we understand that when we do rush, we got to rush together. We got to be on the same page. Otherwise, almost every quarterback can make you play with their legs. I mean, the days of Eli Manning and Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, like those days are like, they're pretty much gone. Every quarterback in the NFL, for the most part, can run. So you always put a point of emphasis on it, but then you get special quarterbacks like Justin Fields or Josh Allen or Hurst, where it's like, hey, we really got to focus on their running ability because they're elite in that aspect. So, going in every game, for me, we definitely want to stop the run, but we also always understand, like, we got to take care of the quarterback because most quarterbacks run nowadays.
Hey, kind of flipping it, talk about your alma mater, the Tide. They were up big first half. I thought they were going to win like 38-13. Arkansas makes it a game because Alabama didn't score in the second half. So they got the win, but they got 2 monster games coming up. And Bama's lurking. They're atop the West. They're lurking, but they've got Tennessee and LSU back-to-back. And they win both those games, probably win the West and play Georgia for the conference championship. But these next 2 weeks are massive.
What I would like to see from Alabama, and in the past, when our offense was struggles, you would use your offensive line. Like, when things are going bad, you're struggling for whatever reason, you can always rely on your O-line and your D-line to step up and make the plays needed to win the games. And that's probably the hardest part for me. And it's not that they're playing bad, but I expect Alabama's O-line to dominate every single game. I think I've seen a stat where they have the biggest offensive line in America right now, including the NFL. In average of weight. Like, I think the left guard is like 360, right guard is like 350. Like, they have a huge line.
Massive.
And for whatever reason, I want to see them dominate games more and take over games. So, I mean, it's hard. I mean, I don't like to compare teams from the past to now because it's completely different with NIL and all the stuff that's going on. But Man, it's hard to watch sometimes, man. I want that old Alabama fieriness back, and I feel like we've seen it a little bit in the second half of Ole Miss.
Yeah.
And then the next game they played, but it's a consistency thing that they got to just be better at.
Hey, real quick, who's the biggest lineman you've faced? Like the biggest just mountain of a man that you've had to face down in and down out?
Mulata from the Philadelphia Eagles. That man's a massive man. That is a big man. I think he's, 6'8", 380?
No.
He's a big dude.
I don't even know how a human gets to that size.
Yeah, I know.
I really don't.
I was talking to Kerrigan, and he was telling me that when he was in Philadelphia, they did like a test to see like what your weight should be based on your bone density, like what a healthy weight for you to carry is. And he was telling me that they told Jordan Mailata that around 370 to 375 was a healthy weight for him. Oh. I'm just saying, like, that is just unbelievable.
He's listed 6'8", 365.
Yeah, I don't know. 365 seems a little light.
That's crazy. All right, John, good stuff, man. Always love talking to you.
Right.
Congrats on the win, and keep it going against the Giants. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Look forward to it.
All right, buddy.
Thank you, buddy.
That's Jonathan Allen, Commanders defensive end, presented by Main Street Bank. Cheer local, bank local. Put their team in your office. Visit mstreetbank.com for more information.